Good morning. Good morning. Oh, hang on. Why does Discord look like it's not picking up my mic? Let me. Okay, good. OBS is good. Let me check Discord. It looks like my settings for audio. Oh, now helps if I turn on my microphone. There we go. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. JTW here with another Xtrades FOMO live stream. It is Tuesday, February the 4th. Hope everybody is doing well this morning. We are going to take a look at what's been going on with futures. Obviously, we've had all sorts of up and down, back and forth, whatever you want to call it, with regards to the what's the right word to say this? Probably I would tariffs, right? Short term, but potentially trade wars brewing. So that's obviously been a factor for the markets. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about how things are looking here on ES, which is S&P futures. We use that as a barometer for gauging overall market sentiment and direction. We'll get through some trade plan recaps. We've got the member selected trade plans from over the weekend that were posted Sunday evening. And then we've also got yin and team that we did on last Thursday's live stream. What's up, Navy Plum? Good morning to you. Let's see who else is filtered in here. What's up, Blue Wave? What's up, Leah? What is up, Trader D? What is up, Hayukunen? Hayukunen? Is it like Hadouken? Like Street Fighter? All right, so with that being said, thank you guys so much for, should say guys and gals, thank you all so much for joining me. Thanks to those of you on YouTube who have joined already bright and early. All right, let's dig in. Let's go. If you guys have any ticker requests as I'm going through these charts here for a little bit, feel free to go ahead and start dropping those in the chat. For those of you who are in Discord, if this is your first time joining a live stream, there is a little chat bubble icon up in the top right hand corner of your screen. If you click that, you'll see the live stream chat. That is where I am watching and taking questions and input and ticker requests and all that sort of stuff. So with that being said, let's dig in a little bit here. We are looking at things on ES. Overall things looking, I don't know, I would say very mixed at this point. Obviously we had the big gap down over the weekend with all of the tariff news with regards to Canada, Mexico, and China. It seems like things have been delayed at the very least for 30 days for Canada and Mexico. China seems to be getting into the mix now with some retaliatory tariffs. So we'll see how that plays out. But, obviously we've got some things kicking off from a geopolitical standpoint that is currently impacting the markets and will continue to impact the markets until there is a little more certainty about what exactly is going to happen with regards to the tariffs and potential trade wars kicking off. In my opinion, very unnecessarily. Certainly seems like a lot of these conversations, if we look at kind of what happened very quickly with Canada and Mexico, a lot of this stuff could have probably been resolved with just a phone call instead of having to throw tariffs around and do all that kind of chaotic type stuff. But it is what it is. We've got to deal with what we are currently dealing with regards to the current administration. So all that we can do is play the charts and try to focus on technicals. Don't let the news drive your trading too much. Because you never know when it's going to drop. So until that happens, just be ready to play the charts and do your best to navigate and be prepared to pivot quickly if some kind of crazy news does drop. Well, you would say that, but right now, U.S. is down and China's up right now, new traders. So, it seems like the current tariff spat between us and China is benefiting China more than it's benefiting the U.S., at least from a market standpoint. So anyway, we'll talk about that here in a minute. So what are we looking at here on ES? We did create and put in a new demand zone. We invalidated one, but we created a new one on this push up higher. However, as soon as we filled that gap on ES futures, we rejected. Personally, I would have liked to have seen that continue higher. However, there were some other things going on in this same area beyond that gap fill, which gap fills do tend to lead to reversals. That being this key 60, 68, 50 level. We've talked about this, I'm sure, multiple times on these streams. We literally hit right into that and rejected pretty much immediately. We also had the 200 SMA kind of shortly, a little bit further overhead, but Neptune, key selling pressure there on ES, also right there in the same spot. So, gap fill, key selling pressure from an indicator standpoint, key resistance level from a technical analysis standpoint. All of that led to this rejection and this push down lower. We are holding up down here where we were finding resistance. So, as long as we keep making these higher lows, we might see things continue to recover, but I would definitely be keeping my eyes on this 60, 63 to 60, 68 range, especially now that that 200 SMA is catching up here on the hourly, going to add to that confluence of resistance. That's going to be a very key area for us to try to break through or potentially look for rejections from that zone. So keep an eye on all of that. But again, right now we're navigating some very choppy waters, and the outlook on things can pivot as quickly as somebody can fire off a tweet, essentially. So just stay nimble, and don't forget that as we go through some of these more uncertain times and early days of this new administration, cash is certainly an option and a position to take, and just kind of sit back and let the chaos sort of play itself out, and then jump in when things are a little bit more settled and a little bit easier to trade. Because right now, your technical analysis can go out the window in a heartbeat with some of the stuff that's kind of hitting the news wires. So Unknown Reviews got a what's up, Chris? Good morning to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Unknown Reviews in here with some ticker requests bright and early. Love to see it. All right, so let's get to our trade plan recaps. We've got AVGO Broadcom. This was member selected trade plans from over the weekend. After hours started to look like a confirmed break to the upside, but not a whole lot we can do with it during the extended trading hour session, at least as far as options go. It has pulled back along with the rest of the markets on some of this tariff news, but overall still holding up in the bullish range here. So keep an eye on it. See if we get a nice confirmed break of 220 going into the trading day today. Maybe now that some of this tariff stuff has started to settle out, we can actually see some moves that follow technicals and not sort of catalysts so much. So AVGO for me so far has been a no trade, partly because of how the chart's been set up, and partly because we're just not really sure what's going on with any of these tariffs or trade wars that are starting to develop, and especially with regards to any tickers that play in the semiconductor space. That can get very tumultuous with regards to spats with China. So AVGO, one to definitely trade very carefully. I would keep your size small if you do take a shot at anything in the semiconductor space in the near term. But overall, AVGO been a no trade for me. News is crazy. I'm thinking of setting. Yeah, I agree 100%, Chris. You want to be in and out of trades pretty quickly. This is par for the course based on the first 4 years that we saw with the Trump administration. So, it is what it is. I will do my best to keep politics out of these live streams, because I certainly have my own opinions on some of this stuff. We are in expert mode, and I said that to some folks in the chat yesterday. I was like, listen, now is an excellent time to focus on cash, maybe paper trade, and just sort of watch things as they play out, especially for the next few weeks. We've got to really have a much better idea of what's going to happen with these tariffs and potential trade wars developing, in my opinion, completely unnecessarily. Microsoft, another one, kind of looked like it was getting ready to give us a confirmed break, but sort of pulled right back below. Overall, seems like it wants to just consolidate within this range. It is holding up in the overall bullish side of things. It is making higher lows, caught up a little bit on this bearish trend ribbon right now, but Microsoft, again, a wait and see for me and for most, I would say. And then Nvidia, same thing, got a nice break, looked like it was pushing higher after hours there, very similar to AVGO, another semiconductor. Really has struggled though with this 118.01 level. Also looks like that was probably equivalent to very close to closing that or filling that gap that we had, the gap down from over the weekend. But yeah, Nvidia has really struggled between DeepSeek and tariffs and everything else that's going on. Nvidia has had a lot of headwinds that it's trying to deal with, and obviously it's being impacted by that. There's not a whole lot more I can really say about that. So Nvidia, just kind of keep it on watch. If we get a nice confirmed break during market hours, I say take a shot at it, but again, make sure that you keep things small and stay nimble. Don't get too greedy and holding for too long, because you can go from 80% profits to negative 20% in the red, like I said, as fast as somebody can fire off a tweet. So it is what it is there. Yen, this is one of the ones that we looked at on last Thursday's live stream. This is a China ETF. This is the bull this is the bull ETF, right? Between the two, Yang is the bear ETF. Yeah, just want to make sure I was right about that. So as we are gapping down, China is gapping up. Again, there has been some tariffs going back and forth between the U.S. and China. As far as the markets are concerned, China seems to be getting the better of the tariff dispute at the moment, with their indices moving higher and the U.S. moving lower. Still needs to get a good confirmed break above 32.77 to continue higher, in my opinion. Let's see, we did this one last Thursday. It did give us a break to the upside, but didn't continue, and then we got into tariffs and all that stuff. Came down to PT1 for puts, 200 SMA just below. So this one, I'd say, looks like it's in a pretty decent spot to potentially re-engage with these trade plans. But again, I would be very cautious, especially playing anything that is a 3x leveraged China ETF. The things are still there's a lot of turmoil surrounding relations between the U.S. and China still right now. So we'll see how that plays out. Team, this one was a ER catalyst potential play. This one did dip below, kind of held near that put entry level, but ultimately on that earnings report, rocketed it up, hit all three price targets, came back tested PT2 for calls as support. So it seems to be making higher lows after that earnings report and continuing to try to push higher here and get back over PT3. So team played out very quickly. All right, so let's take a look at some new ticker requests. We had ODFL or TM. I'm not really familiar with, definitely don't know ODFL. What is ODFL? Old Dominion Freight. Earnings tomorrow. What, pre-market? Yep. ODFL, relatively low volume. Let's take a, what was the other one for unknown reviews? TM. It does sound like a boomer stock. TM, Toyota. Wow, I'm surprised Toyota trades that low of a volume on shares. So between the two, I'd say ODFL, although does this not have earnings coming up soon? Is this tomorrow? For some reason, it's just not showing on the chart. Weird. All right, well, let's go with ODFL for unknown reviews. And then what was the other one? Take a look at Uber for Kinson. Sure, we can take a look at Uber. Get that queued up. TELUS, okay, we'll try to take a look at that. Tim, the Nancy Pelosi, listen, you don't need a trade plan for anything that Pelosi's buying. Just if she buys it, you buy it too. That's that. I hope they don't bar Congress from trading stocks. Otherwise, we won't have Nancy to tell us what to do. All right. So really quickly, gonna hide indicators, dude. Yeah, I mean, I keep getting a bunch of ads, and I don't, you know, I take them with a grain of salt, a large grain of salt. But I've seen a couple of apps that I keep getting pitched like ads for on Instagram that claim that they can essentially copy trade Pelosi and other members of Congress. I don't know how they get access any quicker than when those required disclosures are made. And at that point, are you chasing is the question. I mean, I think so far what we've seen on those is it doesn't really matter. They continue to run higher even after the disclosure is made. And part of that might be because the disclosure is made, right? So some of it may not have anything to do with the actual stock or technicals. It has to do with people know to watch the, it's kind of like Pelosi taking a position is like, Roaring Kitty posting some, very, murky thing that everybody tries to read between the lines, and some ticker randomly just shoots up out of nowhere. Except for, Pelosi is probably a little bit more based in fundamentals, and Roaring Kitty, a different story. Just short squeeze meme. He's so mysterious. Yeah, like let me post this like picture of a squirrel and everybody will figure out like, oh, long peanut futures or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look at Old Dominion Freight Lines. Yeah, this is Chris. I think nailed it. It definitely strikes me as like a boomer-esque ticker. But doesn't mean it's not tradable. Doesn't mean we can't make good money on it. Is this that Chris posted? Yeah, yeah, right. Is it spaghetti? No, it's obviously long Chef Boyardee. Duh. How could you not see that? Although I guess long Chef Boyardee would be like long General Mills or something like that. Yeah, back in my day, freight lines were the Amazon of the stock market. All right, let's see. I'm just trying to get some of these higher time frame levels locked in here on Old Dominion. Again, remember earnings tomorrow. I think there's something here, but it's a little bit. You know what? I take that back. That is kind of pretty well confirmed. Saw a couple more taps the way I wanted to see them. That is an iffy one. Okay, let's get on down to this daily time frame. That's a really interesting support consolidation breakdown. Get that out of the way. All right, that looks pretty good for higher time frame stuff. So let's try to accelerate our analysis here. We'll take this, go ahead and move down to the hourly. Let's take a look at where the indicators are setting up. This is curling down. 333's right there. I think there is an opportunity, pretty obvious one, if Old Dominion can break over 188.88. Siri, I will try to get to Siri, or at the very least give you some quick input if we can't do a full trade plan for it. Perm bear. Are you perma bear, or are you a bear that has a perm? That's got to be a very weird looking fucking bear. What? He's got a Jerry curl. Looks pretty good. I think we'd have to keep this, especially with it being low volume. Pretty tight stop on it. This is an interesting rejection. Doesn't really show much, at least in that recent price action. Yeah, there is something in there, and with that being kind of the recent high before a bigger pullback, I think we'd be remiss to not continue to scale out the profit there. Although most of these targets are probably going to all hit at once, with this having earnings coming up, whichever direction it chooses to go. Yeah, something sitting right about there. Third price target. All right, so that's how I'd set up that upside trade plan. Downside. Starts to get interesting where? Yeah, I think it could push lower below this 181 level. Stop. Yeah, it needs to sit around there. Let me hide these indicators again real quick. Make sure I'm not cutting ourselves off too short. Nah, yeah, I like that. I like that right where it is. We'll stick with it. Keep your wins big, keep your losses small, right? Downside first target. Shot right through that gap. I mean, that's a pretty accelerated move to the upside. I think this could pull back further down to that 174.76. I'll be surprised if we find, but let's take a look. We might find some slightly earlier exits other than these weekly levels. Oh boy, let's take a shot at it. I'm gonna go with weekly to the downside. There's a potentially closer exit sitting right around this 172.58 level. I don't know if that really creates all that much support though. So this is what the ODFL, Old Dominion Freight Lines, trade plan looks like. Oops, not copy image, copy link. I need to remember that for here. All right, YouTube folks, coming at you. ODFL live stream plan. Boom. Boom. All right, so what are we looking for on Old Dominion Freight Lines? We're looking for a break over 188.88. That should give us targets at 192.67, 195.81, and 238 with a stop loss average down at 186.35. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 181.19 with targets at 174.76, 170.96, and 167.80 with a stop loss average down at 184.33. Those are your ODFL trade plans. Let's go. All right. Next was, I think, Uber. Uber. We did a trade plan for Uber recently. It has played out well, both sides, and it's very close to being back within that range. Nice bull flag here. bullish pennant really on the hourly. Looking at this essentially, just so you guys know what to look for when we're talking about a bullish pennant. Looks kind of like that. Bull flag would be more of a channel down. It breaks up. Anyway, just wanted to show you all that real quick. Quick difference between bullish flag and bullish pennant. All right. Oops. Didn't do that. Okay. So let's take the bias of the levels that we had used previously out of the equation. All right. So where does Uber look good for continuation becomes the real question, I think. We've gotten up and hit some upside price targets, but it's definitely been choppy and in a pretty volatile range. I think we're looking 69.40 or 69.76. Let's go with the further of those two levels. I think that truly clears out a bunch of potential issues out of the way. I think it gives us a pretty good shot at testing this weekly level and then a move higher up to this daily. I'd be surprised if that wasn't one of our levels from the previous trade plan. Stop loss, I think, needs to sit. Let's take a closer look at this, actually. I think it's a little bit higher. Yeah, I think it's sitting right about somewhere in this neighborhood. 68, 72-ish. Just check this a little bit more. And it could be even higher, actually. But very close to this spot is what I'm looking at. Otherwise, we get into a upside down risk reward. We probably wind up back in an area of chop. I'm gonna go for it. All right, so that's PT12. Stop loss sorted. Where's our third target at? Pretty clearly 73.69. Okay, so that's the upside plan. Ready to rock. Downside. Yeah. 67.80 level. Sorry, that's 67.06. Looks pretty good for a downside break. PT1. Yeah. Right about here, this weekly level could just be, yeah, that's probably what it is. That weekly level is probably just a little bit off. That can happen when you're working zoomed out pretty far. Whoops, that's what I want for PT1. Stop loss right here. Otherwise, we wind up in chop land. Theta becomes a factor. Second price target. Could be at either of these spots. So let's go with the more conservative target. Make sure we're scaling out and moving our stops up on schedule. And last but not least, third price target. Okay, so this is what Uber looks like from my perspective. Gonna give it some room to the upside, but there's some opportunities, but they're kind of limited windows before we break 69.76, and so that's why just kind of isn't all that interesting to me until we can get over that. And then I think, you know, more room to the upside really does open. So what's up, Alex? Good morning to you. Wants to create a basket reserved for the USA. I agree. Yep. And there's also, I think he's the crypto czar. I don't remember his name. I think he's talking this afternoon, or saying he's got a press conference or something this afternoon, I think. Somebody fact check me on that. You know, a couple of things just to consider, kind of counterpoint to that being automatically bullish. Not saying it's not bullish. I think it probably is overall bullish. One, sell the news, right? That's always a potential concern. Two, I think part of the attraction to crypto and digital assets is they are, you know, not heavily regulated. The more that it becomes a, you know, or the more that it's adopted by, you know, actual governments, you know, does the deregulation or the lack of regulation factors start to become a little bit of a create some headwinds for crypto. So just you know, again, I'm not saying that it's not overall bullish. I think it is. You know, the more that those assets become legitimized, I think the more people will trust them and want to move money into those types of assets. There are obviously cases where I think that there are some potential downsides to that scenario as well. Not the least of which, and the most likely, which I would say is kind of like sell the news, right? You know, once that stuff becomes official, could become a sell the news event. Doesn't mean it won't bounce back, but, you know, think about that as far as when you might want to exit, when you might want to buy the dip, essentially. So, all right, let's take a look at Uber and talk through this trade plan real quick. What are we looking for on Uber? We're waiting for a break over 69.76 to play for upside targets at 70.77, 72.27, and 73.69 with a stop loss average down at 68.81. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 67.06. That should give us targets at 66 flat, 64.97, and 63.96 with a stop loss average down at 67.80. Those are your Uber upside and downside trade plans. Let's go. All right. Let's see. We got checking the YouTube stream. Talked about that stuff. So let's go back to the Discord side. Did Uber TU Telus? Not familiar with Telus. Wait, said oh, this TU. Got it. 1464 communications. Okay, volume. What do they do? What's their niche in telecom? Wireless, wire voice. Canadian company. That's interesting. Not a terrible dividend for September, December. Okay, so pays quarterly dividends, 1464. What was the other? Oh, wait, that was just the one from VK. Sorry, there was two. Telus and TEM. TEM, I have a feeling, is like a don't. Yeah, we don't want to chase this. This has been, you know, you had to buy what Nancy bought, or sometime shortly sometime close to then. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so let's take a look at TU. Get back to TELUS. All right. Whoops. Here's okay. Interesting. Clearly on a heavy downtrend here. Question is, has it reached an area of? Now it's reaching all-time lows, really. Not too far from it. Okay, can we figure something out with this one? Becomes the question. Yeah, I wouldn't fade Nancy, and I wouldn't chase this move either. I think it's just a, if you didn't jump in right as the disclosure was released, it's probably not a good time to get in now. Would be kind of my quick thoughts on that. Better opportunities, other places to make money that haven't totally just left the station already, in my humble opinion. But let's see what TELUS tells us. See if we can't lock in a decent trade plan on this. Downside's probably going to be a little bit tricky because of the lack of support and resistance levels that will have been developed. Well, that's right where it bounced off of recently, though. Yeah, well, Chris, I think probably part of that is people are just figure out if she discloses, just blindly buy it. And so, that is the catalyst, right? It's like better than an earnings report. Just Pelosi disclosure, buy. Eventually, though, algos will figure that out. They'll sucker you in. They'll steal your liquidity, pull it back, and then they'll slingshot it. That would be my guess as far as what starts to happen. They adapt. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Okay, cool. For a second there, I was like, I just started turning a bunch of weekly levels that weren't actually weekly levels, but they were. Okay. All right, so clearly multi-day resistance, prior support touch dipping just below this. Some good support tests there. Kind of an ascending wedge breakout here previously. So let's see, this could also be a good one. Mid cap, play it with shares. She's not yeah, right, she is not a scalper. That is a fact. All right. So here's what I'm thinking. Actually, we're gonna make a slight adjustment to this now that I'm looking at this a little more. I think there's good room up to that 1596 level, but I think it's 1474. Sorry, 1503 versus 1474 needs to be overcome. That gives us a shot up here at 1596. This weekly level may have had off just a hair. I like that as a second price target there at 1645. Third target. Yeah, it's sitting right about here. Stop loss average down. Okay, we're not going to have a ton of price action to use here. in this range. Let's see, this is where we're going to get the best insights. Probably a little bit higher, actually, right about here at 1445. So the next question becomes, using the limited data we have to work with, do we have good downside opportunity? I think there is one. If we share that stop loss average down, take this weekly level as our first target, and let's see if we have any other targets between there and kind of the bottom of the barrel down here at 12.19. Yeah, probably if there is one. Actually, let's take a look. What is this? We're not going to be able to go back that far. 2016. I'm looking at either side of this gap. This really does seem like between the two, the greater level of interest is what I should say. All right, so this is what the TU Analyst live stream plans, and kind of an obscure mid-cap name, but decent small cap, probably, actually. I didn't look at the market cap. More than I thought. But decent volume. Canadian telecom company. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. Turn our indicators back on. Make sure we don't have any confluences that look like they're in the way. None really, at least not on the hourly. I would imagine 4 hours probably pretty similar. Yeah, I think that looks okay. That's kind of edging, shifting higher slightly. All right, so why did trading get so laggy all of a sudden? What the F, trading view? All right. Here are the TU live stream plans. All right, so what are we looking for here on TELUS? We are looking for a break over 1503 that should give us targets at 1596, 1645, and 1697 with a stop loss average down at 1445. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 1395 that should give us targets at 1326, 1287, and 1219 with a stop loss average down shared with the upside trade plan there at 1445. All right, let me take a quick look at a couple of these tickers. I know we're not going to be able to do full trade plans for, but I did see a couple of other requests. Well, we already talked about that. That's a just don't chase, in my opinion. Chewy, would take a quick look at that. Man, this is one that I just regret not buying in the 18s when I was looking at it. I think it's a good company, good name overall. I have all kinds of stuff for my dog on subscription from Chewy. Chewy. If it can break over that 38.73, I think it takes a shot at 39.70. Stop loss around 38.07. So that'd be just a quick take on Chewy for you, Chris. If it breaks below 36.90, short the hell out of it. 35.67 your first target. Take a quick look at Siri for Perm Bear. I'll start calling you Jerry Bear, like the Grateful Dead, but also makes me think of a bear with a Jerry girl. Siri really needs to get over this pre-market high prior. Oh boy, it keeps thinking I'm talking to it. Talking about stock SIRI. Yeah, it looks like it needs to get over 25 to me. Over 25. Probably heads for 26. Stop loss around 24, 21. That's just kind of a quick take on it. And I think I just saw somebody in the Elite chat. Yeah, Yaba just posted an insider buy from Berkshire. So yeah, that's pretty good to know. So thanks for sharing that, Yaba. Yeah, Siri's definitely one I would keep on watch. Talk about somebody who's not a scalper. Buffett is a buy and hold type. So yeah, I would say Siri got some good catalysts going for it as well. And then last but not least, very quickly, I'll take a look at UPST, and then I do need to go get the SPY plan together, get some alerts set up for the day so we can have the bot posting those to the chat. I am going to get a survey out here in the not too distant future as far as asking for some feedback on what y'all think of that bot that's posting kind of those updates from some of the trade plans we have underway. Also looking for some feedback on, you know, anything that y'all think we could do to make these live streams just a little bit better, or more engaging, whatever the case might be. So let's see, UPST over 65.98. Let's call it 66. I like it for a move up to 68.70-ish. Yeah, and then over that, probably 72 or very close to it, maybe just a little higher, 72.25. Stop loss. Yeah, I'd have it right around 64.09, 64.10. So that's some quick takes on those, but yeah. Hopefully that is good enough for y'all to find some trades and make some money. All right, with that, I want to thank you all so much for joining me on yet another Xtrades FOMO live stream. I do appreciate y'all being here. Make sure to tell your friends, especially those of you on YouTube. It is totally free to join and participate on YouTube on these live streams, with the hope being that you guys like what you see and you come give the Xtrades Discord a chance. I know Unknown Reviews finally took the leap. Hopefully you're liking it so far. Unknown Reviews, feel free to DM me if you have any questions about what's going on the Discord side of things. But with that being said, again, I want to thank you all for joining me. We will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, this is JTW with the FOMO live stream, letting y'all know to plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there, get some green, keep your wins big, keep your losses small. I will see you all in the chats, and I will see you back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, take care. I will talk to y'all soon, and I will see you in the chats.